pressure is a beautiful thing.
You want to have a debate, but you actually don't debate.
Put up or shut up, Charlie Kirk.
It is easy to interrupt and to scold and to insult. You know what's hard?
I have to go to a college campus and defend ideas that are in the minority of a lot of these kids' worldview.
I mean, I don't like any elite.
One of the things that I've been confused about is why financial literacy is never taught in schools.
If you want to have people remain super poor and dependent on the government, don't teach them financial literacy. It's inexcusable.
Why do you think conservatives generally stay silent on wealth inequality?
So the question shouldn't be how many rich people are. The question is, how easy is it to move up the socioeconomic ladder? That's the more important metric. And that's actually becoming harder. So that's a really important conversation. Here's the key. Poverty is human norm. Wealth is the exception. How do you get wealthy is the most important economic issue in front of us. If you want the secret to get rich, it's actually not super hard.
Charlie Kirk, thank you so much for coming on the Iced Coffee Hour.
Thank you, guys. I'm a big fan. I've seen a lot of your clips, and so it's great to be sitting down.
That means a lot. In 2012, when you were just 18 years old at the Republican National Convention, you approached billionaire Foster Fried.
Yes, I did.
And you asked him to help you out with your idea, Turning Point USA. What was the conclusion of that conversation, and what did that teach you about life and risk?
Wow, it's a great question. So I was just recently graduated from high school. I wanted to go to West Point before that, didn't get in, and it ended up being one of the greatest things that never happened to me. And so I went to the Republican National Convention. I studied all the major donors. I had to kind of sneak my way into the RNC grounds, if you will. And at the fourth day, I was so demoralized. I was like, oh, this is not working. I have this idea for Turning Point USA, which basically the idea was to try to win over young people around conservative ideas. And I was in a stairwell, literally a stairwell. And then I saw Foster Fried doing a podcast interview with this major cowboy hat on. And I gave him the stairwell pitch. People talk about the elevator pitch. I gave him a stairwell pitch. And he told a couple jokes. He was the sweetest, most godly, incredible person ever. He actually took me seriously because here I was 18 years old, no money, no connections, no idea what I was doing, and no reason that he should be listening to me. And this guy, for the people that know, Foster Fried started from nothing in rural, I think it was Rice Lake, Wisconsin, became the top mutual fund manager for 30 years, the Brandywine Fund out of Delaware, legendary stuff, right? So he's someone that gets pitched all the time. His life is to listen to pitches. 10 times a day, top companies would come in and try to pitch Foster Fried. Can you have your couple $1 billion assets under management to buy Coca-Cola or to buy United Airlines? So he's constantly getting pitches. So here I am pitching a guy, a legend, about this organization that I wanted to start, Turning Point USA, and he took me so seriously. And he wrote me a $10,000 check. And that was the seed funding. It wasn't shares. It wasn't equity. It was just a donation because we were 501c3. And it might as well have been $100 million, right? It finally was enough for me to be able to start a website, to have gas in the car. And then from there, the journey just started, and he became a bigger and bigger donor.
What do you think he saw in you?
Well, he probably saw someone that was passionate enough and crazy enough. And honestly, he probably saw someone that was really naive to a great extent, that I still wanted to get into this broken political space, but I didn't know any better. And in Foster's own words, he said he saw someone with focus and determination and a Midwestern work ethic. So he was from Wisconsin and I was from Northern Illinois. So we kind of had that in common. And look, I live in Arizona now and I love Arizona, but I have a huge Midwestern bias. I think Midwestern work ethic is the best on the planet, and nothing against other people in the country, but there is something very special about how we're raised in the Midwest and kind of that idea that we're going to outwork everybody. And that's always been who I am. I'm going to do more events and more speaking and more podcasting, more radio interviews and more donor meetings. And that's kind of been the ethos. So yeah, I don't want to put words in his mouth. He passed away, unfortunately, a couple of years ago. But no, he was a great friend. And you asked the question, what did it teach me about risk? Is that
risk
right?
in life, yeah.
Well, honestly, I had nothing to really risk because I had nothing to lose. And so that's
that's a nerve-wracking thing. A lot of people are presented with opportunities to talk with someone, get their foot in the door for some opportunity.
Sure. So what are you losing though? Your own,
getting over the embarrassment of rejection.
I know, but that's not losing anything, right? That's in life, if you think about it, okay, if you're second mortgaging your house, some entrepreneurs are, I don't have one of those stories, right? I'm sure you guys talk to some of these people. I was on the second mortgage of my house and I couldn't feed my kids. That's actually not my story. That is something to lose. This is the only thing you have to lose is your own sense of comfort. That's kind of weird when you think about it, right? I'm not going to ask that girl out. Why? Well, because I'm comfortable in my own corner. Comfort will not bring you success, actually. It won't bring you excellence. Like, only in that place of uncomfort and discomfort do you actually get to the next level.
So
You guys know this.
why do so many
entrepreneurs.
people believe the exact opposite of that? That they
Well, I don't-
feel like that's a big risk for them to go and do that. Like, why don't more people think like you? Because I agree with you. I think
first of all, like, I mean, it is risk in the sense that we as human beings do desire comfort, and we want to kind of be in a place where we can have certainty above uncertainty. And going and asking a question, or going and asking a top billionaire for money, you have the probability of failure, and we are very failure averse as a species. And honestly, we should be. Like, you think about 5,000 years ago, you have, two kids, and you're living in like Mesopotamia, and you're like, well, I hope there's food over that hill. And if you're wrong, your whole family could die. So like that's embedded into our species, right? God designed us in a way where there was not a lot of food all the place. So now you kind of extrapolate that kind of genetic wiring where we used to be in the wilderness to Foster freeze, and you think you're like, wow, Foster tells me no. My whole life's gonna actually no, you're gonna be fine. Like you could go and still eat food and you're not gonna die. And so I think we have to overcome our genetic hardwiring where so many people think that it's like a life or death situation. I can't ask this girl out. I can't go ask for a raise. I can't go to my boss. I can't assert myself. And you have to overcome that because it's actually not that much risk. Now, what is risk is like if there's a material or a reputational thing you're putting on the line. Like, for example, if like you're working for a company and they're like, you're not allowed to express your conservative views and you're like all of a sudden wearing a MAGA hat, that's a risk. Like, I totally get that. But if you're 18 years old and you have no money, no connections, no idea what you're doing, I had nothing to lose. And that's actually one of my main arguments for like why we have so few entrepreneurs nowadays. We have less and less entrepreneurship rates are going down. Is we're sending all these kids to college and they're telling you to be risk averse. Like the whole incentive structure in college is to not pursue big, broad ideas, is actually to stay rather cloistered and play it safe.
Speaking of that, that's where I first found your content was you on the college campuses debating. When did that start and what was the most surprising aspect of that?
Yeah, so I've been doing that for 13 years. I haven't been doing that on camera for 13 years. And so, look, the Lord has been so amazing to us and has blessed us in amazing ways. And so I never would have imagined, like honestly, ever since like I met Foster Freeze, that we'd be somewhat of kind of like a household name. I don't want to overextend it, but I mean, there's some serious virality and some real punch behind what we're doing. So I started doing that without even filming it. And so like, that's what people are like, you have to, and that was before like mass social media 13 years ago. It was still there. Honestly, I should have filmed it. It would have went like the trajectory probably would have been even faster.
Back in
but
2012, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I mean like because that was like raw internet and like it would have
Right.
been really interesting. But that's how you know I actually believe this stuff. Is I used to go and debate kids when there was no incentive structure for virality. I just did it because I loved it and I love the battle of ideas. And I did it to try to start like a turning point group on campus. And so I've been doing it for 13 years. We started filming it around 2017. We started perfecting the model really around 2021. And then 2023 is when all of a sudden it kind of became a somewhat a cultural phenomenon. And then, of course, the last year seems like I can't get out of people's algorithm.
So you mentioned that you like the battle of ideas, but one thing that I tend to notice is that whoever has stronger rhetoric, persuasion skills, quick on their feet, quick on their toes, that's going to be the person to win the argument, the debate. Do you feel like these debates have turned into a battle of ideas or just who has stronger rhetoric?
That's a good point. I actually have to think, I think about that a lot. So I try to do a couple things and I fail. But if you notice, in the viral videos, I try to put my microphone down, literally physically on the table when the person is asking their question, because I want to try to give them uninterrupted time to be able to make their argument. Number two, there is an advantage that the person coming up to the mic has, that they're allowed to ask any topic, and I don't know what that topic is going to be, and they could prepare profusely on it. But you're right. Of course, it's advantage to the guy that does it for a living, right? But understand, like, I have to go to a college campus and defend ideas that are in the minority of a lot of these kids' worldview. I have to go to a college campus and argue against abortion. Most kids are not against abortion, right?
Have you ever had your mind changed from one of these college
Oh,
campus
yeah. I mean,
debates?
so mine changed over a period of time. Probably, yes. I would say that I definitely have grown respect for like the thoughtfulness of a lot of international students when it has come to the Russian-Ukraine war. Like definitely, like I'm very against U.S. involvement. but like talking to, and they're all public, you can watch them, like very thoughtful German students and like very thoughtful students from Eastern Europe. Like for them, it's a very existential crisis what's happening. And so like to hear that was something that was very, let's just say, different than what you would hear just on like the usual American political landscape. But yeah, no, look, I would say that I learn a lot too. And that's what's important. I do 100 hours of this a semester. 100 hours, in addition to 2 hours of podcasting radio, right? 250 speeches a year. I got to raise $130 million a year and I got 1,000 employees. I got a lot going on, right? I still do 100 hours of content a year. So 200 hours of campus content. And I'm not just like, I try and I fail. Everyone would fail at this, but I try not to just be ready to say what I want to say next. I try to really learn and listen. And then I try to listen back to the footage. And so this is one of the reasons why it's a little bit unfair when I go to these campuses, because I've been doing it for literally 1,000 hours and these kids are like a college, freshmen. So I try to have at least somewhat of a teacher role to them and try to